What's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here, aka The Geek from DFS Army, and we're taking a look at NFL Week 14. This is your week in review, where we're going to take a look at the Millie Maker. We're going to take a look at what won tournaments in Week 14 and figure out the strategies that we could have used to get a piece of this. So before I get into the actual breakdown, and there is especially the Millie Maker winner this week is the unique Millie Maker winner. We've never seen anything like it before. They lap the field in a way that has never been done before and probably will never happen again. But a few of the things I talked about during the week did come true. But what I want to do is first kind of talk about a couple of nice wins we had over in DFS Army, especially my boy Hunter Sinclair, who turned $1 into $10,000 using the domination station. You don't see down here, but there's another DFS Army subscriber in sixth place as well with a 240. And I have to say, these scores, it's really interesting that these scores would have absolutely smashed every tournament, not just this $1 contest, but as a matter of fact, outside of the Millie Maker, again, which was a crazy score, it would have won the Flea. It would have won even larger contests than this. And I don't know why, but a lot of these scores were way better in this first down 20 max than they were in other contests. I don't know why. I'll give you an example. Actually, we'll go to some of the contests I was in, but just taking a look at the Flea Flicker, which is the contest that I like to attack, a 243 easily. So 243 won it. And, Hunter scored a 258. So, like, literally lapped the winner of other tournaments. So congrats to Hunter on that win. And I'm actually going to show you a little bit about of what I did this past week. I don't always like to do this, but this was one of my favorites. So in the 3-point stance, I actually these are lineups that I put together during the Players Club, which is the DFS Army VIP only podcast I do on Saturday afternoon, and it's a big reason. It's a lot of people's favorite part about being part of DFS Army. And this is one of the lineups I slapped together during that show. It wound up in 7th place in the 3-point stance. This is one of my favorite contests to attack each week, and I use it to track some of the lineups that I make. But this was a Lawrence. It actually had Kirk, no Zay. I mean, imagine if we switched that up, easily winning the whole thing. But a Lawrence, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, double stack with a bring back on Westbrook Akine and Derrick Henry. So a heavy stack lineup is what we put together here, and it worked out really nicely. Got a nice little win off of that one. Overall, for me, it was a really, really good week. But I'm actually going to take this breakdown to an interesting place this week. One of the first things I'm going to do is show you the 150. So our whole idea, how do you build the Millie Maker winning lineup? How do you win these tournaments? And what we like to do on this show is kind of show back testing, show settings that you can use in the optimizer to try to take down a tournament. And if you watched the week in review last week, we absolutely smashed with very simple settings, QB +2, not worrying about a bring back, and certain limitations on position groups. So if you take a look here, this is my actual domination station run. So the DFS Army Optimized, this is my actual run from this past week. And again, I'm going to show you again. So those lineups go into the Flea Flicker, and it was a pretty good result in the Flea Flicker for me, as I believe I had a few top 100 lineups, which I'll show you right here. Yeah, 22nd place, 46th place. So didn't win it. Turned a profit, which is it's a rare thing to turn a profit when you make 150 when you don't win, but a little profit here, fine. But I'm going to show you this run, and then we'll do a little tweak, a little teeny tweak here or there that will show the difference between a run like this and winning the whole thing. And a lot of it really just came down to those Trevor Lawrence stacks. And I'm going to show you my settings before we reset settings. I'm going to show you my settings and the quarterbacks I used and all of that. So if you looked at my content for NFL Week 14, this was the quarterback group that I was using a little bit. Tyler Huntley, I liked a lot. He got hurt. Who knows what could have happened had he played a full game? But that's how the NFL goes. Like, guys get hurt. Okay. Jalen Hurts always in play. I was really low on Josh Allen. Got a couple points because I always like to get a couple points in on Josh Allen, but just 5%, kind of stayed under the field. It was a bad matchup. Didn't play any Mahomes, as I told you guys. Also, I didn't think it was a good matchup. Stayed away from it. Geno Smith was somebody I liked a lot this past week. Did not really work out. Almost did. And a lot of my Geno lineups were charging towards a tournament win towards the end of the day. I needed just a little bit more in that last, just the fact that Marquise Goodwin got that touchdown really kind of harmed a couple of other lineups of mine that could have used one of Metcalf or Lockett. It was a little weird that it was thrown to Marquise Goodwin. Didn't have a ton of Kirk Cousins, had a little bit, but thanks to Bobby Wow, we doubled the field on Trevor Lawrence, and those lineups tended to be the best ones. I also want to show you the settings I used here, and then we're going to use pretty much the same settings, and I'm going to show you how these work, but I kept it very simple. So I use stack QB with no less than one wide receiver, same team. I made a different stack for Jared Goff, and listen, in hindsight, it didn't work, but for Jared Goff, I made a separate stack where I included his running back, DeAndre Swift, as part of the stack. Note I had Jameson Williams in there and Josh Reynolds too. I made sure not to allow Dalvin Cook with Kirk Cousins in any lineups. And I did create a secondary stack for Kirk Cousins. Beyond that, I made a standard rule for the domination station that I like. Stack QB with no less than two wide receivers, same team. That's what we used last week to hit the nuts, and that's what we've been using. And that alongside a set of settings that I'll show you as we do a real-time back test here. But stack QB with no less than two wide receivers, same team. And then I excluded Jared Goff because I wanted to allow for the running back to be included. I excluded Tyler Huntley, Jalen Hurts, and Sam Darnold because Huntley, Hurts, and Darnold were all quarterbacks I was comfortable allowing to default to this other rule, which is just stacking with no less than one pass catcher rather than two. So when I did this run, and I'll just run it again, right? I'm going to do this run. Actually, I'm not sure if I can. Yeah. When I do this run, and are we in backtest mode? Yes, we are in backtest mode. So when I did this run, my top lineup came out, and we'll see what it shows up here because I have Final Fantasy points plugged in. So we'll see what the actual top scored. But obviously, I wound up in 22nd place in the flea using this basic set of rules. A couple of other adjustments that I had made to the optimizer was first reducing any kind of exposure to Travis Etienne, who I hated this week. I actually put a like on Miles Sanders, but did not get any exposure to him. Another player that I liked a lot was Christian McCaffrey. That really helped out. He was actually a pretty good play this past week. I did get some Jerick McKinnon, whose projection I raised up, but again, not quite enough. And you'll see in the final run, I did get 4 lineups with Jerick McKinnon. Needed a little more. Had some Zonovan Knight. Was on the right grouping for the most part. A little too much Swift. Probably a little too much Mixon and Foreman, who I didn't like. But overall, not bad, right? And the end result was pretty good. So I've got these sorted by Final Fantasy points, and there it is. This run here, and how do you like that? Because a little randomization. This run here scored a 233, which actually would have been good enough to win the entire tournament. And this was just the luck of randomization, because I have 7% randomization on that. This 233, actually, let's see what this would have done in the flea, a 230. So my highest score was 212 on my run, but with a little randomization, it switches up a little bit. If I show all, 233 would have been good for third place and a solid 10K. Oops. Would have been nice to have that run in there instead of the one I got. But with all that being said, I mean, we're already so close to on it. I just want to reset the settings so we can do this from scratch, kind of show you how. But one of the things I wanted to show is this incredible Millie Maker winning lineup. So take a look here. This is the contest dashboard for the Millie Maker winner. And this person here, Gordon Jonathan 1, put up a 272. And weirdly, second place was a 236. So, the Millie Maker second and third and fourth place was way lower than the flea and a lot of the other tournaments. I don't know why. That's pretty weird. That's unusual. But the craziest thing here is he lapped second place, 270 versus 236 for the second place lineup. The 100K guy was almost 40 points behind. Never seen that before. Probably will never see it again. Now let's take a look at what took this thing down. And it's really interesting. So it's a Trevor Lawrence double stack. Okay, no big deal. Trevor Lawrence, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram. We know that that's the nuts start for the week, especially Evan Ingram. He went crazy, had not had a good week all season, and then all of a sudden he puts up 42. Who the hell knew? A couple of very, very low-owned plays mixed in here. Aside from the Trevor Lawrence play, that was easy money for us. And we talked about Trevor Lawrence on the Tournament Tactics show on Friday. That was Bobby Wow. But last week, the Titans funnel to pass catchers. Now, I took that as loading up on Christian Kirk. Right? What are you going to do? But had Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, liked all of the pass catchers from this game. But in general, Trevor Lawrence was a good play because you can't run on the Titans. And we have to keep this in mind going forward. Hard to run on the Titans, so teams tend to throw, and they're not very good against the pass. Now, in the case of Gordon Jonathan 1's lineup here, he did bring it back with a piece from the Titans. He brought it back with Derrick Henry. Now, in the lineup that I handcrafted that had this combination, it actually had Christian Kirk, and then I did the Henry bring back, but I also included Westbrook-Akine, who was another one of our little sneaky plays from that game. He had a touchdown, but he didn't do a whole lot else. I played Miles Sanders here. No correlative here. It's just, one of the running backs. We talked about this week how the running back position was kind of weird, and, it was better to get low. And the craziest play of them all, Jerick McKinnon. I actually don't think it's that crazy, but it's a little crazy. Jerick McKinnon has been doing fine though, and he gets a lot of work and whatever. So it wasn't a standout play, but it was a little bit crazy. And then San Francisco defense was a very obvious play on the week as well. Although, like I said, if it's me, I would have looked to include Christian McCaffrey with San Francisco defense for that correlation somewhere. That being said, wow. 272 versus a 236, a handcrafted lineup. My guess is this person did not make any other lineups, and this was the only one. So congrats to the $1 million winner. So let's get over to the optimizer. And what I'm going to do from here, obviously you've seen here, I've adjusted projections. This is my run, right, where I hit likes, and this is something that we went over for DFS Army VIPs in the setup stream that we do on Saturday evenings. We did this live together with a bunch of DFS Army VIPs Saturday, I believe, at 8 o'clock in a live stream. So everybody got a chance to ask questions, see all the rules, see the approach we're using this week, and hopefully a lot of, we did see some big wins. So it obviously led to some pretty good results. We got a 6th place, we got a 1st place winner, and a 20 entry. So obviously what we're doing in terms of teaching the techniques for how to attack DFS, how to mass multi-enter, how to play DFS like a pro, which no one else will show you anywhere else except for here at DFS Army, that's working. That's a big reason why our subscribers, our members win more often than other sites. And that's a big reason why when you look at other sites, it's their staff that are winning because they're not really sharing these sorts of secrets and tips. But I just don't feel that, personally, I feel like it's better for us as a group, at DFS Army as a group, for everybody to be winning, for our subscribers to win, for our members to win, not just to have the staff showing off their wins. And for that reason, it's really important for us to teach the techniques of how to use these tools best and how to do back testing. So with that all being said, what I'm going to do right here is start fresh. And we're going to give this a run, and we're going to see what kind of a score we can come up with using DFS Army Domination Station backtest mode. So you can see here we are already in backtest mode. And what backtest mode does is it adds a column right here, Final Fantasy points. It's that simple. And so once we're finished running the optimizer, we can see what the lineup actually scored with the benefit of hindsight. But we're still optimizing based on the projections that existed prior to lock. In other words, these are the projections that we had prior to lock. And when I reset settings, it's going to pull my customizations out. And again, I do, based on my sheet, my cheat sheet that I put together each week, 4-star, 5-star plays, I give them a like, a love. So I make sure to get exposure to the players that I specifically want. And if you look at my player pool, like I said, it's only 89 players. These are just players that I allowed. So I removed, let's see, the excluded list so you can get an idea of the players I disallowed, like Saquon Barkley and Nick Chubb, Samaje Perine and Damian Pierce. All of these were disallowed by me manually because I did not think they were viable plays this week. Right here, you could see CeeDee Lamb disallowed, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. These are the players that I did not allow exposure to. I unfriended them, I unfriend you, so to speak. So this was the grouping that I just pulled out because again, that's part of the reason why we come up with a player pool. Look at all these Bills, Chiefs. Let's see if any of these. Oh, Chiefs. Why did I do that? Should have left the Chiefs in there. Outside of that, I'm pretty happy with the ones I disincluded, but probably should have left the Chiefs in there. They did fine. I think I pulled them because they were the same price of the Cowboys, and I thought the Cowboys would be good until I found out that Davis Mills was playing. Don't ask. One of my better bets of the weekend, though, was Houston plus 17. No sweat, although we crushed the bets as well. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. To get a real-time understanding of how to set up the optimizer, I am going to reset settings completely. Settings reset. Now, what just happened? I just went back to default settings. Notice that all my customizations are gone. All of my player pool changes are gone. For better or for worse, we're going to set up a simple stack and see if we can't replicate what we did in real time. So the basic stack, remember, stack QB with no less than one wide receiver, tight end, same team. Then we're going to do the same rule, no less than two, but add an exclusion. And this is a new feature that we have on the Domination Station Optimizer, the exclude. And we're going to exclude the quarterbacks that we're okay with just one. So we're going to exclude Hurts. I'm going to exclude any running quarterbacks. So in this case, it was Huntley. Exclude running quarterbacks from this requirement. And I also include Darnold as a running quarterback, but more so the reason he's only got one player, and I don't think I'm going to play Darnold. But he was in my main, so here we go. Two simple rules. Now, I'm not going to bother with the secondary rules I made, but I had made rules during the main slate to disallow Kirk Cousins with Dalvin Cook. Actually, I can show that one as well. So stack QB Cousins with exactly 0 RB, same team, or you could just say the name. Exactly 0 RB, same team. Boom, that's fine. I'll do the same for the other one. Any quarterbacks with a running back that could absorb all of their fantasy production, I like to do that. But I'm trying to think if there's any other relevant ones here. That's the only one I'm going to do for now. Okay. Now, let's once again set up the standard set of options that we've been using. I'm going to go down to a 100% ownership cap. I did 110, but I'm going to go all the way down to 100. I'm going to limit running back in the flex to 20%, and I'm going to zero out tight end in the flex. Zero. No tight ends in the flex. Okay, this is standard DraftKings established settings that we've been using week after week. You want to add a little bit of randomization. Now, what I'm also going to do here is control the QB player pool, not only for the purpose of speed, but this is how I always would do any sort of domination station run. So I don't want to cheat code it. We've got to kind of do it like we would do it on a regular week. So I'm going to remove all of the quarterbacks that we didn't have any interest in this past week on my sheet. These are recorded situations. And then what I'm going to do is set some forced mins on some of the quarterbacks that we used. But obviously, I want an emphasis on Trevor Lawrence because he was the nuts play. I'm going to put 15% on him because I want to keep it real, so to speak. But, you know, in the my original run, I only did 10% Trevor Lawrence, but he was the nuts play. The other guy that we loved a lot is Jared Goff, so I'm going to load up on him as well. And 15, 20, 35, 40, 50, 60, 70. Go 5% Josh Allen. We'll go 10% 80, 85. And let's bump up Trevor to 20% just to make sure that we get what we want. Next, we're going to set limits on each player, each position group down to 20%. Let's see if this alone will be enough to get us there. I also want to remove a couple of players that I didn't like. On the week, particularly Nick Chubb was out of my player pool. Saquon Barkley, I did not use. I did not like Joe Mixon, but I had him in my pool. I'm going to remove Travis Etienne and Samaje Perine from the pool. Didn't have him, didn't use him this week, so I want them out. Singletary out, Fournette out, Michael Carter out, this guy out. So just getting rid of the trash, so to speak. I did leave in James Cook and McKinnon in my player pool this week, so I'm going to leave them in there as well. Just getting rid of some of this trash. Okay. All right, I think we're ready to give this a run and see what happens. Just double checking all of our options, and let's give it a run. And again, what I'm doing is trying to come up with and demonstrate a repeatable process that we can do most weeks that will get us at least close or give us a real chance of landing a tournament winning lineup. You could see, it's funny that in my own run, even though I scored my max score when I ran it was a 212, when I just ran it again here, I got a 233 because that little bit of randomization does kind of change things just a smidge with each run of the optimizer. So there's a little luck of the draw in there, but hopefully not too much. We want to put ourselves in a position to have a chance. We want to give ourselves a chance every single time we attack tournaments, and having a repeatable process is a really good way to do that. So let's see what the first run gives us. I'm going to sort by final fantasy points so I could see what these lineups would have scored. And okay, there it is. So first run, right about what I scored when I ran the optimizer myself, a 214. Again, you just saw me do this. This was live in real time. You saw me do it off of default settings. My first run of the optimizer with no adjustment whatsoever was a 214, which was good for 22nd place in the flea. Not bad. Not bad at all. Right? 22nd place in the flea off our first run. Now let's see if we can bring a little bit of our slate approach to the table here and see if there was any way we could have kind of gotten a little bit closer to that tournament winning approach. Let's see what's going on with defense. 49ers I liked. Cowboys, there it is. Steelers didn't do very well. Bills defense, I actually unchecked Bills defense, but they did fine. Panthers defense was one I liked. Really interesting here. Let's see. Dulcich, Chig was big for us this week. Travis Kelce was off my radar. I'm going to pull him. Dalton Schultz was off my radar. I'm going to pull him. These were guys that were not on my player pool. I'm just going to pull them. CeeDee Lamb, not in my player pool. Actually, I think going through the wide receiver position might get us a little bit of clarity as well. Here we go. Fantasy points per dollar. We're going to sort it and see who's popping. Yeah, of course, Amon-Ra was one of the top plays, and I don't like to play a ton of guys like Kendall Hinton, so I usually will 10% situations like that, just turds that have a chance this week. I'm going to lower them just a little bit. Chris Moore was somebody I liked. I had a 20% on him, so that's fine. Who else did we load up on? Where is Jerry Jeudy? Oh, my gosh. I was loading up on Jerry Jeudy this week. We did not get enough. I don't know if we got enough Jerry Jeudy exposure here. Yeah, no. Wow, he was one of my top plays. So that is something I'm going to make a little adjustment on. We're going to go to 30% with him. Zay Jones, 20 is fine. Robert Woods, not on my mix. LaVisca, no. Gallup, no. Love Chig this week. Okay. All right. And then defense. The only thing we can really do here is maybe I don't really know which ones to pump up, so I'm not going to mess with it. You know what? Let's give it another run. I made a couple of little adjustments. I do think, though, that one of the keys to this week was getting exposure to Miles Sanders and Jerick McKinnon. So in the next run after this, we're going to kind of artificially prop up those two players. And it's not really even artificial because, again, both of those were in my runs when I did it. I wanted, one of the things we talked about this week, breaking down NFL Week 14, was that running back was getting weird, right? It was going to be a weird week for running back because, quite honestly, the options were all somewhat underwhelming. So there was no standout running back play. Swift stood out, and he was one of the worst. But over the most part, I was like, wow, last week, the week before, we loaded up on P. Ryan, had 100% or 60, 70, 80% exposure. This week, had to switch it up a little bit. Another one that I really liked a lot was Christian McCaffrey. So I'm actually going to raise him up a little bit here. But let's see what our top lineup produced here. Still, just a 215. So we got a little bit better, but not much. Adding a little bit of Judy exposure in there. Trying to remember what other running wide receivers, like Donovan Peoples-Jones, I was on a lot more. There's a few others that we were really on, but I don't want to cheat code that too much. Let's get him down to 10%. Travis Homer, I didn't like at all. Rashad White, I did. Miles Sanders. There we go. We're getting a little Miles Sanders. So the other one was, obviously, in order to win the tournament this week, you really probably needed a little bit of Jerick McKinnon. So I'm gonna raise him up just enough that maybe we'll get a couple of shares. And of course, Miles Sanders, another one. I actually did raise him up in our run, but we'll give him a little bitty boost. Little boost. Right? But beyond that, again, we're keeping the settings fairly simple here. I want to take a look at what the combinations are. Yeah, this one I definitely was focused. I'm not going to change it, but Metcalf Fant, Lockett Fant, Metcalf Lockett. So this was a change that I had made. Not that this matters too much for the purpose of what we're doing. Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Zay Jones, Marvin Jones Jr. So yeah, I'm just going to limit this one here so we get a little bit more of what we want. A couple little bitty adjustments. What this does right here is it limits when after you set up your stacks, we have the ability to limit how much of a particular QB plus stack, how many lineups it shows up in. Because one of the goals, did I set this on 3 uniques? Yeah. One of the goals here with the domination station is making sure you get a nice little spread of each stack around each stack. So after we do that, I'm going to do a couple of other little adjustments. Let's see how this one works out, but I'm sure a couple of other different little adjustments that we can make just to experiment and see if the scoring goes up or down. And this is a big way that, well, there it is. There's your 235. So there's a pretty close to a tournament winner, right? This wins second place, I think, in the Millie Maker and a really, really solid score. So that's a 235. And that included Bucks defense in it, which is crazy. So this essentially the same lineup without Bucks defense going to do a lot better. Let's see why. What just happened here? What did we change? We got a little bit of Miles Sanders in there. Got a little bit of Jerick McKinnon, not much, but that was about all it took. I'm going to raise up my Jerick McKinnon, but I'm also going to show another little trick that we can do to try to affect the score and see if it gets better or worse. So let's try going from 3 uniques. And this is the stuff that we do in back testing. And this is the stuff that if you're doing back testing on your own, I want you to be doing in real time. So one of the things is, let's see what happens if we go for more uniques. What does that do? Right? So I just went from 3 uniques to 4 uniques, right? What change does that make? The other thing we could do is change the ownership cap. And again, this is a lot of what we did in the preseason back test streams, just to kind of figure out a standard set of guidelines so that we don't have to tinker too much. So we know every time we run the optimizer and we're running 150, if we use this basic set, it gives us a good chance to be in the game. And then a couple little adjustments to player exposures and whatnot, bringing your take on the slate into it is the difference between winning and losing if you're right. Like, let's say you had a hankering for Miles Sanders and you just kind of jacked him up a little bit this week. That got you from the 212 all the way into the 230s. Here I just tried, we just hit a 233 with a 3 unique run. Let's see what happens with 4 uniques. Interesting. Okay. 240. Number went up a little bit. All right. I'd also made an adjustment at the running back spot, but the number went up a little bit. Okay, that's interesting. We also got a little more McKinnon exposure. Some exposures changed. Interesting. What if I go to 5 uniques? I'm going to put this on. This should be a little faster. 5 uniques runs pretty slow. So I'm going to actually raise randomization a little bit. Let's see if we can give it a 5 unique run. Hey, maybe it'll get better. I don't know. What happens when you go to 5 uniques? So this is how we back test. What are the best group of settings to try to take down tournaments without having to add a ton, but just a little bit. You always got to bring your approach to the slate, but maybe just a little bit, maybe not going too crazy. So here we're running 5 uniques. Let's see. 4 uniques got us a 240. And I don't always do this on the show because I try to do these quickly. This is stuff that we do in live streams regularly in the off season and preseason, but and even in season for breakdowns. But let's see what happened here. So that now went down. 5 uniques did not help. It went from 240 to 230. Okay, I didn't like that. So let's go back to 4, right? Okay, that's not helping. The other thing is, what if we lower the ownership cap even further? So let's go back to 3 uniques, right? And let's lower the ownership cap to 90%. Let's see what happens there. Maybe 100 or 110 is too high. So these are the little details that I want to be changing and testing. Do we do better when we run? And of course, the power of the domination station and the archives is that we can go back entire seasons. We can test groups of settings, not just for one slate, but we can go back 2 seasons, 3 seasons. What we learned last year is really not, it's a little bit different this season. Like I said, last year, QB plus 1 was what was working for most of the year. QB plus 2 just was not working. And QB plus 2 with the bring back was definitely not working. And a lot of it was because there were just so many blowouts last season. This year, it's changed a little bit, and we're kind of back to the style of optimization that we were using in pre-2021, like in 2020 and before, that all of the evidence took us. There it is. There's your 258. So this run here, and look at what it took. All right, so we just nailed it. The 258, I am going to rest on that laurel. That was enough to win every cut. That's actually, is that Hunter's score? Yeah. So we hit Hunter's score, motherfucker. I know what you did, Hunter. Right? We just hit the score. And how do we get there? 258.02. That, oh, yeah, 3-2, I beat you. Unless it's a error and thing. But we hit that score, and what do we do? So the big change, let me go back to, again, I'm going to run it again. So we ran it at 90%. We got a 258.32. I'm going to run it again. Now, again, I have some randomization on. These aren't going to always be exact, but I'm going to run it again at 100% and see what happens. So this is at 100%. So at 90% max ownership. And max ownership really, when you set that low, it makes sure to grab players who are projected to be low owned. It's that simple. So that's where you get like a McKinnon just popping into a lineup because it's got to find something or someone that is low owned to fit in there. Now I'm going to lower that after this run because it feels cheaty to throw that much of him in there. And it also feels cheaty to throw this much of Miles Sanders in there. So I want to see if I can replicate this without that, without like having artificially raised up these projections that much. But first, let's take a look here. So the run at 100% produced a 232 versus the 258 at 90%. So now that's really interesting. So now, and this had McKinnon in it. So now what I'm going to do, and a lot of area where we're having the most trouble is the defense. I love 49ers. I'm going to raise them up a little bit. I think part of the deal here is I've got to remove some of these shitty defenses from this mix. I actually like the Bucs, but I love the 49ers. They produced a good enough score. We like the Panthers quite a bit. Yeah, you're not playing them. You're not playing them. I did not play these guys. I really didn't play them or them. Definitely didn't play those guys. Bengals I did use and I liked. Eagles I did use and I liked. Chiefs I used and I liked. Broncos I did not use. Definitely didn't use the Browns. So I'm kind of going through the defenses as the ones that I used or didn't as a guideline. Didn't have the Bills. Yeah, this seems about right. Okay. But more importantly, this run at 100% cap produced a 238 at 3 unique. Once again, remember I'm going to go back to 90% cap and see if we can beat the 233 score. Again, barely any cheat code. This is minimal adjustment. So what I'm doing now is really just comparing the same run under slightly different settings to see, hey, maybe we should be going down to 90% versus 100 or 110% ownership, especially if there aren't supreme chalk plays that you want to actually load up on. Like I did not like the chalk this week. I didn't love Joe Mixon as a RB play. I warned everybody about him on the Tournament Tactics show, and I would not have included this much Joe Mixon in my run because he was a guy that I was specifically not wanting to play. Let's see what this one scored. 229. So yeah, it did not improve. Going down to 90%. Seemed like the best approach was obviously getting a little more of Sanders in there to help with that nuts call. And let me just take one last look at these combinations. Zay Jones and Evan Ingram. Yeah, we got a lot of the combo that we wanted. Kirk and Jones would have been my top, and then a little bit of these other ones. And there you have it. So, end result, once again, QB plus 2 stacks have been the way to go. Lower total projected ownership was helpful. And in this case, the 4 unique run got us all the way to a 258, allowed us to match Hunter's lineup that he ran. So we get a pretty decent idea of where a lot of these lineups came from this week. QB plus 2, stick with the QB player pool, avoid the turds, and give yourself a chance at taking a tournament down. Sorry, guys, this was a longer one than usual. If you like this kind of content, let us know. Hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But definitely comment. Let us know what you think about the style of content teaching. If this is what you want to do, you want to kind of learn about DFS rather than just hear who the plays are. We do that. We'll have the first look and we'll go over some of our top plays of the week. But for handcrafters. But if you're trying to attack tournaments and you like this style of content where it helps you learn how to use tools the way the pros use to actually win these tournaments, kind of demystifying the approach to DFS. If you like it, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment saying, hey, yeah, I like this kind of thing. So we'll do more of it. I need to know from you guys what you like to see. All right. Good luck, everybody. I will be back, of course, with the whole suite of content, DFS Army tools and everything. And if you're not signed up with DFS Army, go sign up now. Promo code GEEK gets you 10% off. Good luck, everyone.